All right, it looks like we're live. Hey there, if you're new to the channel, my name's Tyler, and I make videos about video editing and storytelling in order to help YouTubers grow their YouTube channels and business. And in today's stream, I'm going to share with you some of my favorite video editing tips. And also at the very end of the stream, or towards the end of the stream, I'm going to be giving away a special prize to one of you guys that are on the stream. So if you're in the chat, shout out, let me know where you're watching from. Yeah, so we're just going to get into some of my favorite video editing tips. If you're watching on the replay, that's okay too, because there's going to be a ton of information in here that I feel like is going to be extremely valuable. But you know, that's neither here nor there. I hope the information is super valuable. These are just some of the things that I'm applying right now that's helping me grow my YouTube channel. Again, huge thank you for us reaching this milestone of 70,000 subscribers. It would be awesome if we reach 100,000 subscribers for the end of the year, but that's, we'll just have to see what happens. But yeah, I want to talk about, just to give you a little bit of context on, what I plan on talking about in the stream. I'm going to go through, like crafting better YouTube intros, or crafting better hooks, and then some storytelling strategies. And then at the end of the stream, we'll do some Q&A, and I'll address any questions that you have about that. But yeah, if you are just now getting into the stream, throw down in the chat where you're watching from. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're at in the world. But yeah, just going to be covering some video editing tips this morning, or at least this morning for where I'm at, and answering any questions. And at the end of the stream, we're going to give away a special prize to one of you guys hanging out in the stream. So let's see. So I'm just going to jump right into it. As far as crafting like YouTube intro and stuff, this is something that I'm focusing on right now. I don't think it's like, everybody, works a little bit differently on how they craft their YouTube intros, but Colin and Samir did an outstanding job of kind of breaking down how, what's working on YouTube right now as far as a hook. But if you're not familiar with the way that they broke it down, basically what you want to do is you want to start your intro off by, you want to immediately confirm that the title and thumbnail is not clickbait, which is super important because we live in we've all become accustomed to the clickbait culture that's out there. And so everybody's super skeptical whenever they're, going and looking online to watch content. Everybody's got a sense of okay, is this too good to be true? So we got some, thank you, Laxu. I appreciate it, man. I'm using a Sony A7 IV. Sorry, it's like squirrel. I just saw you in the chat. Yeah, I'm streaming right now on a Sony A7 IV, and I'm running that directly into my MacBook Pro. But like I was saying, you just want to, whenever it comes to crafting a perfect YouTube intro, you want to first immediately confirm that the title and thumbnail is not clickbait. And then, you do that by, whatever way you see fit. So idea and packaging are the most important. And then once you have them click on the video, you want to immediately confirm that the title and thumbnail is actually what they clicked on the video to watch, or what they're actually going to watch. And then that also sets the tone for the rest of the video. And, I like to think of a hook. If you think about the actual word itself, it's like you're hooking them into the content. And in order to be able to do that successfully, I feel like you have to it takes a little more effort than to just I used to just hop on camera and just say in this video, I'm going to show you how to do this. And then, all right, now we got some guys in the chat. Paul should edit from watching from India. Thank you for being here, man. First time here, hoping to learn something. I hope that you, hopefully I can teach you something. I appreciate it. Following from Saudi Arabia, that's awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here. But like I was saying, it's you have to, the idea, the packaging, that's number one. And then when they click on the video, you got to immediately kind of deliver on the goods and reassure and set the tone for the rest of the video. And then you want to open up an additional element of curiosity. And so I got some slides here that I'll just kind of go through to kind of keep us on track, or keep me on track, really. That way I don't ramble on and everything like that. But let me go ahead and pull these up here. And so what we have here is hooks. All right. So this is what my definition of a hook is. All right. A hook is something that intrigues the viewer so much they feel obligated to stop everything that they're doing to get the answer they feel like they must have. And that's just my way of thinking of a hook, and thinking about the root of the word. And so what I have in the slides here is I have some examples and things that I'm seeing like is working on YouTube. But like the hook is very important, because if you can get the viewer to watch, keep them in for like the past 30 seconds, or like get them through the first 30 seconds of your video, if you can increase your retention percentage in the first 30 seconds, that's going to elevate all of your retention throughout the rest of your video. Because the first 30 seconds of the video is just confirming whether or not it's actually something that's worth watching. So that's something that I think that's worth focusing heavily on. And right now what I'm doing is I'm working on actually writing out a few different hooks in order to that way I have a couple of different options and things that I can shoot many different versions of a hook. And that way, when it comes to post-production, I have something that a few different choices. But I don't think that, what I used to do is actually something that it's going to be compelling enough for viewers to want to watch for a longer period of time. Or if you're trying to create a YouTube channel where people just like binge watch your content because they're getting so much value. It just depends, I guess, on really what you're trying to go for. But for me, I would like for my audience I would like to build more of a story. So the first hook that I have here is going to be to ask a question that builds emotion. When a viewer becomes emotionally tied to the content, that, and at least in my experience, whenever I'm watching YouTube videos and I become emotionally tied to something, I'm more likely to actually finish watching or to watch to find out what happens. So ask a question that actually creates curiosity in the viewer's mind. Don't be basic. Basic equals clicking away. So that's what I was going back to what I was saying. I don't think to be successful on YouTube right now. In my opinion, I don't think that you can just, in this video, I'm going to show you how to do this. That's great. You're confirming that the title and thumbnail is what they clicked on, but what makes you different from any of the other videos that I, get to choose from? If you're not getting to the content very quickly, I have no true reason to stick around. It's just, let's say for example, if you're like on the side of the road and wanting to change a tire, well, that's a quick problem if you need to search online how to change a tire. That you need a quick solution. So that's something like if you're not getting directly into the content, that's something that could affect your viewership or your retention. But for my channel, I would prefer my channel not be a resource channel and more of a community hub, a place for where people want to gather and just basically just we all hang out together. But if you're want to be a resource channel, maybe you can get away with just that, a simple hook. But for me, I don't think that I'm seeing that. I think story is the way moving forward, at least on YouTube. And you want to make make them feel emotionally connected to take them deeper into the content. So establish trust, fear, concern, joy, excitement, or anticipation. And you can do a combination of all of those or just a few of those, but just really target those that emotion, because if you can make someone emotionally invested because they're curious about what's going to happen, I feel like they're more likely to they're more likely to continue watching the video. So the example I have here is, would you live in so it would go with something like, would you live in an actual haunted house for 24 hours? I did, and this happened. And then it would show something that happened there. And now you're like, oh man, I got to watch this. Especially if the packaging was really well. It was like showing them like a really haunted house or something. Or it's like, I lived in the world's most haunted house for 24 hours or something. That would be something that, one, it confirms that the title and thumbnail is not clickbait. And then two, it hooks me into the content. Asking that question hooks me in emotionally, and now I'm curious. There's anticipation, there's excitement. Those emotions are all being targeted. And then the second one that I have here is creating the fear of missing out. So FOMO. You've at this point, I'm sure everyone's heard like the fear of missing out is a great way to like title your videos and stuff. But I think that you can use it in your hooks, but it requires an element of ethical urgency. So what I mean by that is like ethical urgency is like legitimate urgency, like makes people feel like if they don't stop what they're doing, that they're going to miss out on an opportunity because it's time bound. urgency can be created by limiting the time that something is possible. So the example that I have down here is, imagine a world where you're 20 years old and financially free. I'm going to share with you the 5 steps I took to reach financial freedom in my 20s without cutting corners or scamming. Now, the thing with this is you want to deliver on the promise, or viewers are going to stop trusting you, and that's obviously going to affect your brand, whatever you're trying to build. Nobody wants to be, nobody likes watching that guy that just makes all these promises and doesn't deliver on the value that they say that they're going to. And you see that all the time on YouTube. So again, you can use urgency, but use it ethically. So the urgency in this is the fact that, if I'm 40 years old and there's a 20-year-old talking about being financially free, or that's a bad example. Let's say that I am like, 19 years old, 18 years old. The urgency is that they only have like 2 years to be able to kind of be in the same position, or they feel like they're behind the curve. So now they feel like they have to watch. So that's just, those are just 2 of the hooks that I just put together very quickly to share with you all. But, those things come from, this is what I'm trying to do this year. Let me bring myself back over here up on screen. I'm trying to become better at writing. As I just got back from Vid Summit last weekend, and I had a conversation with a guy named Alvaro. He's a director, writer, animator for the channel Solar Balls, which is like a space channel. It's an animation channel, which is hilarious. But he was we were talking about like the importance of writing, and he talked to me about like there's 4 things, right? You got the idea, you got the title, you got the thumbnail. Those are the most important things. But in order to create good content, there's 4 things that really you want to improve on. So the first thing is the writing, because the writing is like the game plan. If you go into a situation with a plan, you are more likely to execute it, I guess, the most efficient way possible, right? So writing is a big thing that I plan on doing this year, because instead of just turning on the camera and figuring it out on the fly, like what I want to say, there's already a script, there's a game plan. And so I can very quickly move into the next step, which is recording. And when recording, I know exactly what I need to do because I'm following the game plan. And I know it sounds simple, but if you take a little bit of time, a little bit extra time to script out your videos, I'm not saying that you have to script out your videos. You can just do like bullet points just to keep yourself on track. But I honestly, in my experience, I've seen so much better results by just scripting out my videos prior to actually recording. I've always done like a shot list and stuff, but by scripting it, I know exactly what I want. And whenever I get to recording, I can do it very quickly. When it comes to post-production, when I'm editing my videos, now I can just follow the script. And, you're going to have ideas that pop up, but I can follow the script. And then at that point, I actually know the direction that I want to go because I've already kind of written out the stuff. You think about movies like Harry Potter, or, any movie that's ever been based off of a book. Those movies kind of follow the storyline of the book. They're not always to a T, but that's just something to think about. It's been very helpful for me. So this year, the big goal is to focus on being a better writer, writing better content so that I can tell better stories. And then the last piece is just feedback. So to bring it all together, right? So you got writing, you got recording, post-production, and feedback. Those 4 things create a recipe for making good content. And that last piece, feedback, is just like actually whenever you post a video online, or on your YouTube channel, seeing how the audience is responding to the content and analyzing and adjusting. Hi from Israel, handpick, waving. Yeah, prayers for all of you guys out there, out in Israel right now. It's so bad what's going on over there right now, but sending all the good vibes and prayers your way, sir. But yeah, those were just, let me know if that makes sense. Let me know in the chat, does that actually make sense? All the, we talked about like the hook, like the, crafting the right hook, YouTube intro, and then also, just those 4 things that I do to focus on to create better videos. Because if those things kind of give you, it's like your guardrails. so you can stay on course. And there are going to be some people that are like completely against scripting. I get it. I'm the same way. I think there does come to a point to where if you like over script, you actually are doing more harm than good. But just starting off with like some bullet points, and if anything, just writing out your hooks. And you don't have to necessarily like write them out by hand. You can use ChatGPT. Now, I don't mean like use ChatGPT to give you an actual hook. But what I do is I'll go into ChatGPT and then I will, just ask it to give me a list of, or just create a list of like 10 hooks for this specific video topic. And then I'll go in there and I will start to take pieces from the different, variations that it gives me, until I come up with a YouTube hook or a hook for a video that I like. But I usually want to have at least 4 to 5 different hooks to choose from. So that way when I'll record all of them whenever I'm filming the video. And then when I go to edit the video, I have options to choose from. Now, as far as like how that all goes back into like how does all this that I've talked about so far apply to someone that's wanting to learn video editing or someone that's editing a video? The hook is extremely important because, like I said earlier, the first 30 seconds is arguably the most important part of your video, because if you can get them to watch past the first 30 seconds, they're more likely to watch to the end of the video. And that's important because audience retention, or average percentage viewed, is something that sends a positive signal to YouTube. And if you are thinking about the algorithm and everything, if you can get the viewers to watch for longer, that YouTube will reward that. And so the way that it works is like you get so many impressions. Once you hit that hit rate, you'll get an additional amount of impressions, and YouTube is constantly pushing your video out to a broader audience. And so in order to, the reason why it's important to do that when you're focusing on editing is because how you edit your video is how the viewers are going to perceive the story that's being told. So you edit your video in a way to where the viewer feels like they're taken on a journey. If that makes sense. Andy, hey there. Thanks for being on the stream, man. But yeah, as far as like that leads me into like the next thing. So what I'll do is, let me go ahead and share my screen one more time. There we go. All right, perfect. All right, so that leads me to my next thing. All right, so what I have up on the screen right now is my actual video editing ebook. There's a link to it down in the description. It's free. If you want to swipe that, you can. But in here is just like talking about like the emphasis on like story, because story is, I think the way ahead as far as like content on YouTube, because there's so much content that's out there, and people are uploading so many videos every single day that there's, things are like, there's a lot of, I think, people that are trying to like gamify the algorithm and just trying to add like a whole bunch of cuts or just create all these different things that pop up on the screen that don't actually make any sense. And talking to other editors at VidSummit, everybody's kind of on the same page. It's like, where's the storytelling at? And because story has always been king. If you've ever watched a movie, it's followed some sort of a story. And regardless if you make like, you may make like educational talking head content, or if you're making like more entertainment content, I think a storyline applies to both. And so in the book, I have this breakdown of like what a story arc is. And a story, ends up, I won't go through the whole book, but just to kind of break down, like it is composed of 3 acts. So you have Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. And Act 1 is just like the beginning. There's the beginning, the middle, and the end. And you can think about it, the setup, the journey, and the change. Or like some people think of Act 2 as the path to change. Basically, the beginning is setting up the story and making the viewer aware of what's to come for the rest of the video. If you start your video off like very slow and you're like, hey there, my name is Tyler, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to do this. And before we get too far, we go ahead and like and subscribe to the YouTube channel and all these different things. Andy, the topic today is only editing and the hooks of the videos. Now, I'm going to be talking about like the hooks. I'm also going to be talking about right now we're going through like storytelling editing, and then we're going to be doing some Q&A, and I'm also going to be giving away a prize here in just a little while. But going back into like the storytelling aspect of it, video editing is like, this is what you want to think about whenever you're editing your videos. It's like, what is the story that's being told? Some things that you can Google out there, like the hero's journey, which if you Google the hero's journey, that's pretty much, Harry Potter. Follow it, like the story foundation to Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, like those movies all follow the story arc, or the story foundation of the hero's journey. Then you have the Harmon Circle. Those are just two examples. But we as humans are accustomed to story, and that's why I think that story is king on YouTube. Because if you follow this format with your content, it's a proven system that works. So breaking down, like, this story arc, if you will. And we already talked about the hook. So the hook is in the beginning, and that sets the tone for the rest of the video. And then you have the setup. And the setup, I like to think of it as like just the portion that that actually is setting up the content. It's opening a loop. So Colin and Samir talked about in their YouTube intro, like the perfect recipe for a YouTube intro is that you confirm the title and thumbnail, and then you open an additional loop. And that meaning that opening an element of, or a story arc, or opening an element of curiosity. And so what that does is that element of curiosity is an additional element that the viewer did not know, they weren't expecting, but it is of high value. And that is something that propels them forward into the content. And that typically I try to do that in the setup. And then after the setup is the rising action. And the rising action, it's just like it rises and it falls. A story is a constant thing of tension and release. So you have build up and then release. So some things are happening, and then things calm down. And that all the way, it leads all the way up to the climax. Robert Anderson, good morning from Alberta, Canada. Good morning, sir. Thanks for being here. But yeah, it's just, going through like all the way up and leading up to the climax. And the climax being like the reason why the viewer clicked on the video. And I'll give an example here in just a minute. But the climax is like you want to be able to deliver. So if you hook the viewer in the intro, all right, so you're teasing, or you're hooking the viewer to get them to move to the climax. Everywhere in between, you have to, sustain, like you got to keep things interesting. You want to have those ups and downs and those ebbs and flows throughout the story. But after the climax, after is the falling action where you're moving into act 3. And that is the change. The person has changed at this point, or the character has changed. And so from that point, you're kind of just showing life after the climax. And then the resolution is just tying things in a bow. And I broke it down here in the book. Let me just scroll down real quick here. But the moments following the climax, the aftermath, and the place to tie off all loose ends. And I think of this as like life after the climax. And this can also be done through dialogue or music. And this is where I show the change. And then the resolution, typically what I'll do is like the outro is important. And I don't see a lot of people on YouTube talking about, instead of getting viewers to just end your video, I think, or to watch one video, when I make my videos, I try to think about binge watching my content. So at the resolution, I'm actually opening an additional loop, but they won't actually get the answer unless they click on the next video. So I'll say something like, so in this video, so that's, the 5 tools that I use for traveling as a content creator, or that's the 5 tools that I use as an editor on the go. If you want to learn the AI tools that I use on the go as well, check out this video right here. So that confirms everything that they, what they were watching and everything, but that's also me like quickly getting them to watch the next video. Because if you can, it's all about like, watch time and session time on YouTube. If you can get them to binge watch your videos, YouTube will reward that a lot. I'm going, I know let me know if I'm talking too fast, because I feel like we're kind of like breezing through a lot of this stuff. Or questions that you have, if you have any questions about story. But that's just kind of like a quick breakdown of like, a 3-act structure, your story arc. You've probably seen a story arc, but it's something that I don't think it's not followed to a T all the time necessarily on YouTube, because honestly, it's kind of hard because if you, especially if you're making like education content, at least for me, whenever I was starting, like all you really do is kind of model what other people are doing, which I think is great. But at some point you want to like, um, you're going to want to, you're going to reach a point where you don't know what else you should do, especially if you don't want to just be ripping other creators off all the time. And so to expand punch out your creative walls, um, it's really good to have a good understanding of like storytelling. And so how does this, like, to give an example, how can we do this as editors? Well, we kind of broke down like the hook, um, and how like the setup and everything. The intro is important, and we don't want to make sure that we are concise there. And with our cuts, like we're only leaving the necessary information in there that would create curiosity or make someone emotionally compelled to watch the rest of the video. Um, but using things like music are also, or character introduction, um, using different like an A or B plot are other ways that you can like keep the story moving forward. Like, so if you think about the different scenes in a movie, after the setup, that something happens, and then the rising action is like you have two different characters, um, or you have, let's just make it simple for like education content. You have two different pieces of tech, all right, that you're reviewing. You have like the new iPhone compared to an old iPhone, or compared to the new Android or something. Um, and so you think about those two things are like characters in your story, and you talk about the strengths and weaknesses, like the things that it can do, the things that it can't do. And then the climax would be like what your actual, this is just me just coming up with something very quickly, but the climax would be like your opinion, which one is better. So you do like the iPhone 15 versus, I'm not sure what like the newest, I'm an iPhone user, but one of the newest Android phones. And then so the climax would be what the audience came there for, and you want to deliver on that, because that's how the audience determines like, okay, whether or not this was a waste of my time or not. It's like, think about any movie you've went and seen. If the movie was really, depending on how hard it was to like comprehend, or like what they delivered on, if the end scene of the Avengers, or the fight scenes of the Avengers, was not actually good, I don't think those movies would have done half as well as they have, because like they delivered. If you don't deliver, people lose trust. They're like, I'm not going to watch that creator anymore. And that's something that you want to, like, when you're structuring your videos, you'll want to think about. So to bring us back, like, so think of like, kind of like, you can do this on paper. What I like to do is kind of like just write down like what like the point of this, the goal of the video is, or like the answer, like the thing that the question that this video is going to answer, and let that be the North Star for the whole video. And then you can like think of like act 1, act 2, and act 3 is your timeline. So break up your timeline into those 3 acts. And then your different scenes will go in between. So that's kind of like what I have up here on the screen. Like, you see, like, you got act 1 here, this is going to be the beginning, and you could just think of your timeline down here. This is the act 2, the journey, the climax happens, and you move into act 3, and this is going to be like your outro type area. Very oversimplified way of like breaking it down, but that's how I started thinking about it. And I got a ton of information in the ebook. You can swipe the free ebook. It's down in the description of this video if you want to check it out. But yeah, it's just ton of information in here. I would say a ton. It's a lot of illustrations, but I've tried to simplify this as much as possible. This is why I think writing is extremely important, because sometimes whenever I plan for this live stream, but unless you're following like an actual script, sometimes it's hard to get all the information out that you're trying to get out. But okay, let's see, who do we got hanging out in the chat? Let me know, does my audio sound okay? Is there any issue with audio at all, or does what I said, does that make sense? Just leave a yes or a no in the chat. There's going to be like all the no's are going to be in here. Awesome. Good. Okay. Awesome. So let's do this. Let's do some Q&A. So based off of everything that I talked about today, just to recap, talked about covering hooks. If you're just joining the stream, I talked about earlier, how to craft like a hook that actually keeps viewers watching for a longer period of time. And then like kind of just we broke that down in a way, like I showed like two of the hooks, like you can ask a question that creates emotion, or you can utilize the fear of missing out. Those are just two that I'm seeing working pretty well on YouTube right now. But the biggest thing is to like actually write out your hooks and practice creating better hooks, instead of doing what I used to do, is like, in this video I'm going to show you how to do this, and then that was very helpful, but I wasn't seeing that people were watching my videos for a longer period of time, or they were not watching multiple of my videos. Instead, you want something that like grips them into the content, makes them feel like they cannot step away. If they step away, they're going to miss an opportunity. At least you want that to be the thought process. And then also, going into like storytelling, like breaking down like a story arc, and how you can actually do it, apply it whenever you're editing your videos. This is one piece of advice, because I'm a filmmaker by trade, but like I wouldn't try to overcomplicate it, or just try to get so caught up in like the act 1, act 2, and act 3. Think about how you would tell a story to someone if you're recording a video, or you're thinking about recording a video. Think about when you're talking to the lens of a camera that you're actually talking to a friend like you're on a Zoom call or something. Like you're having a call with somebody, and when you're delivering, speak conversationally and speak and tell stories the way that you would tell stories, but don't ramble. And so in order to keep yourself from rambling, that's why I've talked about like how it's important to script your videos. Script and then record your videos, and then in post-production it will be much faster, much easier for you. And then get feedback, because without feedback we don't really know like if our content is actually effective or not. But yeah, let me open it up for Q&A. That's just everything that we talked about. Let me know down in the chat any questions that you guys have. It doesn't necessarily have to be any questions from what we talked about today, but just general questions that you may have. And then after all the questions, we'll give away a cool prize. See, somebody's got to have a question. Let's see. No questions, huh? Okay. So instead, let's do this real quick. And if you do have questions that just pop up, just let me know. But oh yeah, one thing I forgot to mention is music, right? So what does I see music used like all the time. We've all seen music used, but there's a way to use it, and then there's a way to like use it ineffective. And the most effective way to use a music, or is to like use it subtly, I think. And I don't think that you need to like have your music like super loud, but I wouldn't. And for me, anyways, as a filmmaker, I don't. When I choose music, I'm not choosing it from a place of like, hey, that's my favorite song. Like if I really like the song, that's a bonus. But the choice that I use is based off of the specific emotion that I'm trying to convey. But authentically. Think about if you were to watch a video on YouTube where someone was apologizing for doing something that they shouldn't have done, or something like that, and it had like sad music going on in the background. It doesn't come off as authentic. It almost seems like, well, you edited the video. Why would that be? That's weird. And so thinking about like, who your target audience is, what your video is about, and then the emotion that you're trying to convey, you can think about like, if you were on screen, or you had like a clip where somebody was saying like, I'm okay. and they're like, somebody asked, hey, what's going on? Are you all right? And they're like, I'm okay. What you can do is add music underneath that, and if you add like sad music underneath it, or like music that's like dramatic, that also, that what that's doing is that's telling the story of what's actually in their head, and that's communicating to the viewer like what they're actually thinking in their head. And that's just one way that we can pick up on like you can use music strategically to where it like makes sense and helps tell the story better. It enhances the story. Robert asks or says, I have 2 documentaries under my belt. I'm working on my third. I'm a newbie, but how can I find work? All right. So as far as like doing documentaries, it just, really what you want to do is just, have your portfolio, showcase your portfolio. And, in order to have like steady work, you just want to be able to, you may or may not have to work for free. One thing that you can do is approach businesses. This is something that's helped me. It's like approach businesses and offer your services for free. Like, hey, can I do like you just walk in and be like, hey, can I speak like with like your director of marketing, or is there someone that I can speak to about creating something for your social media? And then from that point, what you'll do is just do a quick interview. You'll have to be like a one-man band type thing. I do it all the time. But just go in there and be like, hey, I wanted to see if I could make something for you, like for your social media, and set it up in like a documentary type format. And then once you get enough of those under your belt, you start building a reputation, build your portfolio. Then you can start, punching out and doing other things. But I think that working for free is important at first, especially if you're a newbie, because people are a lot more forgiving if you're not charging them anything, because what you are getting in, like, because technically, like, it does cost them something because you are taking their time to do something with them. But if you make it worth their while by having it be free and you deliver on a quality service, you can do that enough times, word of mouth will spread, and you'll be able to build your portfolio. But yeah, that's just what I would do, like, if I was starting over and everything like that. But building a solid portfolio is extremely important. One pitch. Yeah, just send me and go down in the description, just send me a DM on Twitter and I'll check it out. And I'll give you some feedback for sure. But yeah, that was like going back to like, with like storytelling and like the use of music. Music is important for being able to convey emotion, or the absence of music or the absence of sound is another thing that's important, because that absence of sound, or just like hanging on that moment in the frame, gives you a sense of like uneasiness, or you're really like the absence of music, and just that makes you feel like you're in that moment, you're feeling exactly what they feel. So those are just some other ways. Like, definitely music could affect the cadence of your story, right? So if you have your high points and your low points, we've all heard like that adventure music that happens in like whenever a journey starts on, like, in Lord of the Rings or something like that. That happens. You're just like you're going along that journey. It's exciting, and usually that music like comes to an end, and then something bad happens, and then so that brings you back down. So that's those high points and those low points. And for education content, I think you can have like those high points and those low points. Like, it doesn't necessarily, because that's a question I get asked, but like, what if I don't make storytelling content, or content that's adventure content? Well, I think you could still do that by showing like the high points and low points, or just like one thing that you can do, I don't see happen a lot, is like taking them along the journey of like testing all the equipment that you're doing. So if you're going to test the iPhone camera versus a Samsung camera, like taking them on the journey of like how you're testing this stuff, that's telling a story. And like, it's more than just being like, obviously I know I'm not in the tech niche, but I do know that there are some people that do not care about that type of thing, and they only want to they only want to know the specifics. But whenever you introduce like the phone and your opinion on like each one, that is opening up that storyline. So it doesn't necessarily have to be as complex as like, oh yeah, I use this phone, and I took this photo, and this happened, or it doesn't have to be that complex. You could definitely get away with just doing it by giving your personal experience with it, and that, I'm sure that would be sufficient. No Beam asks, do you have any suggestions for retention hooks for my voiceless game channel? I try to make stories and use music. Also, no intros or stupid stuff, but retention is not that great. So suggestions for voiceless gaming channel. Try to make stories and use music. So I'd have to look at your content, but with gaming content, it's like depends on, are you making montages? Are you just doing like are you doing like let's plays? Because it depends on like what the viewer is signing up for, because there's all kinds of different formats for gaming. If you throw that in the chat, I'll check that out. But just speaking as far as like for gaming content and stuff, your intro you want it to be something that can hook them in. So think about like the idea of like what's going on in the video, something that happened like while you're playing the game. And then you could showcase that at the front, or like the beginning, something that was funny, that was like really funny. And think about it like, how would it be funny to like your target audience, and show that in the beginning, but also does it create an element of curiosity? So in the hook, you confirm that the title and thumbnail was what they actually clicked on. It wasn't clickbait. And so by showing that in the intro, and then you open a loop, create an element of curiosity, or something that is emotionally triggering, and that will push them forward through the content. And just come up with your own way of being able to do that. So the most recent video I did, it's not a great hook. It's something that I'm still constantly trying to work on. But I was like, in this video, I'm going to share with you 5 video editing tools that I use for creating videos on the go. And I'm not only going to show you what the tools are, but I'm also going to show you how I use them. And so that additional thing was like, okay, I didn't tell the viewer that, I mean, it might have been implied that I'm going to show them, but I'm going to obviously I'm going to tell them what the tools are, but actually showing them how I use it was that additional element of curiosity that I was putting in there. But that's what I would do as far as like your gaming content. What is that extra piece that opens a loop and creates that element of curiosity? Any word on 3, 5, or 7 structure screenplay writing? That's something that I'm still trying to improve at as well, because there's the 3-act structure, there's a 5-act, 7-act structure. There's all these different things that you can do, but and we could sit here and talk about like the concept behind storytelling for hours and hours and hours. But I don't want to be like I didn't want it to be like an overwhelming amount of stuff, because there's still things like world building, like how do you build a world in your content, and things that could definitely, we could definitely go down that rabbit hole. What kind of mic do you suggest for a beginner? I think that it just depends on what style of content are you making. If you're making like educational content, you could get yourself like just a lapel mic. The Boya mics I think they're like $20. And you just clip it on your shirt. This right here is the DJI mic that I'm using for this stream. But it's, it just depends on like what you're making your content for. But DJI makes great mics. The Rode Wireless Go 2 is a really good mic too. It came out not long after I got the DJI mic, and if I would have waited, I would have probably gotten the Rode Wireless Go. But if you're doing like, let's say like run and gun vlog content, the Sony mic, I have it's put away right now. I don't know the actual name of it, but it's the Sony mic that just hooks in. I'm shooting on a Sony a7 IV, so it just goes into the actual hot shoe mount. That one's really good. But it really just depends on the content. But Sony makes great mics, DJI makes great mics, and Rode makes really good mics. Those 3 brands I've had a mic for, and they've all done really good. It's just the difference between like shotgun mics are going to be more for like, on camera, or like if you're holding like a boom pole and you're an audio guy that's just trying to get, audio from the scene. Lapel mics are going to be more for like clipping on your shirt type content. And the Boya mics are really good, or you can get yourself like a Rode Wireless Go. Just depends on like what your budget is. And then and this is also a wireless mic too, so I don't have to, and it has like in the transmitter, you can record internally. So those are just like a few that, I recommend that you could use. No, thanks. Absolutely, man. Hope that was helpful for your gaming content. Did you end up switching to DaVinci? I have not completely switched to DaVinci, man. I don't know if you guys have seen, but like on Twitter last night, I saw at Adobe Max like what generative fill for video, and like it's mind blowing. Like the generative fill is actually going to be coming to Premiere Pro. I'm not sure when yet, but like they showed a preview of it in real time, and it was on Twitter. If you go look on Twitter, you can see where I quoted it, and you can watch the video yourself. But man, it's insane. So as far as like right now, I think I'm gonna stick with Premiere. I'm still playing around with DaVinci. Don't get me wrong. I think DaVinci is still a great program, but Premiere Pro is just like, it's not. I'm not having any hiccups, and it's a software that I'm familiar with, and it's got all these new features that are coming. So, it's just like kind of going back and forth, but DaVinci is still a great software. I'm also following you on X now. Awesome. Perfect. I know I keep saying Twitter. X is, I think, the actual name for it. So if I confuse anybody, go to X and you can see, you should be able to send me a DM. If not, you can just, if you go to my Instagram, follow me if you want to. You don't have to follow me, but just you can shoot me a DM there. And that's in the chat or down in the description. Okay, thanks. Yeah, for sure. Those are just a few of the mics that I recommend, and I think it would be money well spent. Can we get a video in the future where you get detailed DaVinci Resolve tutorial? We'll see. Maybe I'll do like a live stream or something like that. What I'm trying to do is get a little bit like I do. I'm trying to get away from just doing tutorials and also doing like video editing, like general video editing concepts, so that so to help a even more broad audience, because I have so many specific tutorials. But maybe I can do like an editing live stream just in DaVinci Resolve. We can go through that together. Yeah, Premiere Pro crashes at least twice a day on me. Yeah, it's for me right now. I don't have that issue as far as crashing. Sometimes it's I feel like it's sometimes it's like it has happened at, like, especially at work. Like if I'm working on, like, I got a lot of things going on in the background, it'll do that. Or if you're using like some of the newer features in the beta, I've seen that happen. But it just depends. But lately I haven't had any real issues with crashing. Okay, so it's 7:45, 7:47. Okay, let's do this. I'm gonna give away. Let's give away the special prize. Okay, so first of all, if you're hanging out on the or if you're watching here live in the chat, thank you so much for being here. If you're hanging out on the replay, I hope you got some value. Leave me if you're watching on the replay, leave a comment down below and just let me know, replay crew, and just throw it down in the comments. But yeah, let's go ahead and give away this prize. So right now, what I have here, this is the MX Master 3S. So this is a video editing mouse. It's the same one that I'm using right here. But this is, I haven't opened this one up out of the box. Bluetooth, I made a video about this. It was my last video that I uploaded. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to be giving this to one of you guys today for free. It's one of those, I don't need it. And, I want you guys to have it, as appreciation for us reaching 70,000 subscribers. So the way this works is all we have to do is I'm going to just throw #editing in the chat. And what I'm going to do is this. One second. So all you have to do is, so let me share my screen so you can see me doing this. All right, yeah. So just throw #editing just like it shows on the screen here, and spell it just like that. Include the hashtag in the chat, and just like this. And then once we have a good number of entries in here, I'll go ahead and draw, and then it's just going to select someone randomly in the chat. So go ahead and put #editing in the chat. I'll give you a couple of seconds to be able to put it in there. If you're just joining the stream, I'm giving away this a prize to one of you guys. Just throw #editing in the chat. I'll send it to you, and you'll have yourself a wireless video editing mouse. And yeah, Okay, give a couple more seconds. All right, here we go. Let me get my mouse to go to the right place. All right, drawing. All right, Paul, congratulations. What I'm going to do is I will reach out to me on X, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. And I'll get your details as far as like your information, how I can send it to you. And then we'll go from there. But yeah, just do that like right now. So that way I can make sure that I get it to you and it doesn't, it's because I don't, I get a whole bunch of DMs and stuff like that. So let's do that. And congratulations, you guys. I appreciate, the support and everything and growing this community together. It's been, I'm seeing guys here on the chat that were, that have been on multiple live streams. So really, really appreciate that. But yeah, any last questions or anything that you guys have? Yeah, this mouse is like, amazing because it has this little scroll wheel on the side, which is really good for like scrolling left to right on the timeline. And you can connect this via Bluetooth. You don't have to worry about plugging something up into your computer and having to worry about it. Like this thing is, and it's super like, it's very like, I don't know, it just feels good in your hand. It's like fast scroll wheel and everything. It's really nice. Sent you a PM on Instagram. Thanks for your time. Absolutely, Robert. But yeah, all right. If there's not any other questions, I just want to say, thank you so much for hanging out on the stream. Thank you so much for everyone for watching on the replay. If you go back, there's tons of information. If you're bouncing around on the replay, I recommend it because I talked about so much on the stream. But thank you so much for hanging out here today. And I will see you guys on the next live stream.